You're listening to the Balanced Educator Podcast, episode number 23.
Welcome to the Balanced Educator. We're your hosts, Kaylee
and Josiane from EduCalm. Our intention is to equip and empower you to feel more calm, balanced, and joyful in all aspects of your life.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Balanced Educator Podcast. If you're new to the show, welcome. We are so excited to have you here. We invite you to subscribe so that you can connect with us every Monday when our new episodes come out. And if you are a regular listener, you listen every week, or maybe you're currently binge listening to the show, welcome back, and thank you so much for sharing your time with us. Also, a big thank you to anyone that's been leaving reviews for the show on iTunes. When you rate and review it, it helps other people like you to find and benefit from the Balanced Educator Podcast. Now, in this episode, it's so exciting because Josiane and I are here together. It's been a few weeks now that we've been not recording together. So, hey, Jo.
Hi.
We've been so
excited to be here.
Yeah. We've been we couldn't wait to get on this podcast and record together again. So really fun. Now, in this episode, we're sharing something with you guys that has really changed our lives. And that is how to ditch the feeling of overwhelm. So through our mindfulness practice and through our learning and studying mindfulness from lots of different teachers, we've developed a strategy that really helps us to manage our emotions and choose how we want to feel. So our strategy has 3 approaches. And in this episode, we're going to teach you guys one of them. Now, we have a free online workshop coming up that will go into more detail on this subject, a lot more than we can do in this 20-minute episode. And it's going to give you our powerful 3-part strategy to feel calmer and more balanced, no matter how crazy life gets. So you guys can register for this training right away. Just go to www.educalm.com/free workshop. EduCalm is spelled EduCalme. Now, before we dive into this episode, we are super excited to share a book that we love with you. If you've listened to our last 2 episodes with the inspiring author and mindfulness coach, Keith McPherson, then you've probably already added this book to your summer reading list. Keith's book, Making Sense of Mindfulness, breaks down mindfulness into easy to understand and to implement principles. We love how Keith makes mindfulness feel easy and simple, and this book is perfect for anyone that's new to mindfulness and also anyone that wants to dive deeper into living mindfully. So I got some really fun new little strategies, new little practices from Keith's book that I'm implementing and really enjoying. So I think you guys would really like it too. If you want to grab a copy of Making Sense of Mindfulness, go to www.educalm.com/Keith. Again, EduCalm is spelled EduCalme. Now, the cool thing is when you purchase Keith's book from this link, it helps to support the Balanced Educator Podcast at no extra cost to you. How sweet is that? So if you purchase his book through his link or through this link that we shared, thank you so much for supporting the show. All right, Jo, you ready to get started?
Yes.
So today we are going to be talking about how to get rid of overwhelm. Lots of teachers, and when we talk to teachers, I would say the number 1 word that people use to describe their life or during challenging times, it's always the word overwhelm.
And I also think it's more than just educators.
So true.
Yeah.
So, Jo, why do you think overwhelm is kind of like this word that so many people use to describe their lives?
I think that the world is going faster and faster, and we're exposed to so many things every single day that it's too much. And for educators specifically, I think that they just have so many moving parts to their job. There's so many things that they have to think about, right? Like it's not just teaching. That's only, I would say, like the actual teaching part is possibly 20% of the job.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree.
And then there's prep and corrections and communicating with parents and communicating with your administrators and working with your colleagues and dealing with difficult situations that your students are going through. Lots of emotions to manage, not just your own, but also your students, to help them manage their emotions. And even things like recess duty, right?
Yeah.
Or the fires that you're putting out after recess.
Mm-hmm.
Like those all contribute to the overwhelm that teachers feel, I think. And I think teachers are often working a lot more than their, 8-hour day. And so then they go home and they don't feel like they have the time to accomplish everything that they need to do before they go back to work the next day.
Yep, absolutely. It's like we're being pulled in so many different directions. And I know in lots of schools too, with new technology and there's just so many new awesome developments in education. And a lot of times it's like really hard to keep up. So
yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it can feel overwhelming because there's so many moving parts to keep track of.
And sometimes I think also as teachers, we're being pulled in so many directions for that. It's like, for example, last year at my school, we were working on writing, like how to teach kids properly how to write. But then we were also talking about multiple intelligences and the social emotional development. And it's like, I don't have enough time to get into all of these things. It'd be easier just to choose one, right? And do it really well.
Yeah, exactly.
So
many different things. And I also feel like as a teacher, I often had the feeling of like, I wish I could do more. Like it was so hard for me to be like, okay, in year 1, this is what I'm focusing on. And then next year, I'm going to add this next layer once I've, really figured out the first layer, just knowing that, but I want to be there and I want this group of students to benefit from this thing that I want to do. It's hard to wait till next year to be like, okay, I'll do it with my next group of students, because you feel like you're letting your current students down a little bit or not doing as much as you want to or feel that you should. So that contributes to the overwhelm of just feeling like you want to do more.
And also here at EduCalm, sometimes we get caught into that cycle as well, right? We're like, we want all these things for our clients. And sometimes it's like, okay, like relax, we're not there yet.
Yeah. Yes.
Right.
Because we have this vision for where we want to be, and like we want to be there now.
Yes, like yesterday, always.
Yeah, exactly. It's like we see what we want EduCalm to be and how it's going to support teachers and how it's going to support so many students. And there's just a lot of steps for getting the word out and helping people learn about EduCalm and how it can support them and how easy it is. But we're the ones creating that overwhelm in ourselves. Exactly.
Good thing we have our mindfulness practice to remind ourselves, right?
Exactly. And that's where the strategy that we're going to teach today on this episode, and then the, full strategy that we'll be teaching on our online live workshop, is really going to come into play. Because one thing too that I just want to mention is that this year I've really noticed that everywhere you go, there you are. So as a teacher, I often felt overwhelmed. And, by the time I left the classroom, I feel like I was at the peak of my ability as a teacher. Like I was feeling really, really good where I was. And I just wanted to share this mindfulness thing with more teachers. And that's why I left the classroom. But I kind of had this notion that I was like, once I leave the classroom, all that overwhelm will be left behind. Like life's going to be easier. And that is so not the case because I'm the one creating the overwhelm. Yes. I'm the one putting things on my to-do list. And that was a big learning curve, I think, for both of us. That was, I think in the first couple months, one of our goals was like, stop letting our to-do list make us feel overwhelmed. That was like one of our like strategies.
We could actually do a whole episode on a to-do list.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's on the list of future episodes to come for sure because the to-do list. It's on the to-do list. Oh man, I feel like we could put out like 3 episodes per week and still not keep up with all the ideas we have for this podcast and things we want to share. So
let's not let it overwhelm us.
Yeah, exactly. So getting back to what we want to teach today is that if we want to leave overwhelm behind, it isn't about changing our situation and it isn't about changing necessarily what is on our to-do list. It's all about perception. It's about how we look at our to-do list. It's not about the to-do list. It's about how we look at it. It's not about the circumstances we're in. It's about how we look at those circumstances. We can always choose how we think and feel and perceive anything in our life. Now, that isn't always easy. Because, Joe, if I show you your long to-do list and then say, okay, now don't feel overwhelmed. It's like, it takes some practice of shifting our mindset and using some strategies to choose how we look at the things in our life.
It's a slow day by day thing.
It's really a muscle.
It's not a shift we can make overnight. It's something that we need to work on until we get there.
Yeah. And we need
to continue working on it.
Yeah. We need to consciously practice this. And the good thing is that it's so worth it because I would say that now at this point, using these strategies, I'm able to catch myself so much earlier in the phase of overwhelm. It's like I catch myself when I'm just slowly starting to feel overwhelmed and I'm like, oh, I'm feeling a little overwhelmed. Let's start implementing these strategies. So it's a muscle. Whereas before I would be like at burnout before I recognized that I had to change something.
Same. I totally get that.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the strategy?
All right, here we go. So when we think of overwhelm is an emotion. So we've talked a lot on the show, and episode number 9 is a great one to go back to if you want to get deeper into how our thoughts create our emotions. But anything that we experience in life, we are choosing how we experience it. We are choosing our perception. So I'm reading this book right now that is really, I'm enjoying a lot. It's called Your Conscious Mind, and it's a new scientist instant expert series. So it's really cool because it takes all of the current research about consciousness. So this book was written in 2017. So it's very up to date of the scientific research around consciousness. And because it's written by a team of scientists and also scientific journalists, they really approach the concept from a unbiased way of explaining consciousness, which I'm really enjoying. But the underlying current of this book is basically that, so consciousness is just our experience of the world. So consciousness is me experiencing this moment. It's me being aware and involved in this moment. Now, the interesting thing is that lots of people are trying to study consciousness and where does it come from and what part of our brain gives us this ability to experience our life, to be in this world. And and no one can figure it out. But what they all agree on is that consciousness is really hard to define because it's different for everyone. So the way we perceive the world is through our senses. So what's actually happening is, for example, if I'm looking at something, so I'm seeing a color, for example, what's happening is there is a specific wavelength of light that hits my eyeball. Then my eyeball gives the information about what it's taking in to my brain. Then my brain interprets that and then tells my conscious brain what it's seeing or what it's perceiving. Now, the interesting thing is that in order for us to connect with anything in the world with our senses, our taste, touch, smell, anything, it has to be filtered through our mind. So we get these inputs from our senses. It goes to our brain deals with that information, and then it tells our conscious mind about it. And then our conscious mind has to make a decision on it. So there's no way to prove that the color blue that I'm seeing is the color blue that you're seeing, because both of our brains are interpreting it in the same way. We can both point at the color blue and say we're seeing blue, but there's no way at this point for us to prove that we are both seeing the same thing or interpreting the same thing.
And also why we can't always agree on things.
Exactly. Because nothing goes, we can't perceive anything without the bias of our past experiences, because our brain interprets everything that we experience by relating it to past experiences we've had. So for example, in my past, if money is hard to get, then I have a belief that money is hard to get. And so that's what my interpretation of money is. If I have a belief that teaching is an easy job, then that is what I'm interpreting and that is what I'm experiencing. So perception is everything. In any situation, I can look at it from the way I'm currently looking at it, or I can try to see it from a new angle, like however many billion people there are on the earth, they can all look at a flower and they have a different perception of that flower based on what their brain is interpreting and telling them to their conscious mind. So my experiences are always, we can be doing the exact same thing, and my experience is different than your experience. And we might agree on how we feel about certain things or disagree about how we feel about certain things. But we are always experiencing it different through our own lens. Okay, so that was a lot of science nerd Kaylee coming out.
Kaylee, the science gal.
Yeah, that's me. Big ol' nerd. I love it. So, okay, lots of information, but how does this relate to our real life? It is just knowing that whatever overwhelm you're experiencing right now is only your perception. So one thing that I really like to ask myself, and you and I both, use this strategy, is trying to look at the situation from a different perspective. So how can we do that? It's not always easy to put yourself in someone else's shoes. How would they look at it? But you can start by thinking, okay, how would future me feel about this? So if I'm overwhelmed right now because I have photocopies to make, and then I also have to contact this parent, and then I also have to, start working on report cards, whatever those things are that I'm feeling overwhelmed about. If I go to a year from now, will Kaylee from a year from now feel as overwhelmed about this situation as I do now? Or will she be like, oh, you got through it. You were okay. It seemed big at the time, but you got out and you're fine. You're fine now. Life is good, right? She'd probably have this problem that feels so big right now. Future me, might not even remember that problem. So it can help to to make something that feels really big and heavy and overwhelming, just to put it into a bit of perspective. Like when I zoom out on my life, is this moment that I'm feeling overwhelmed about, is it really that important? Is it really that overwhelming in the grand scheme of things? And just doing that, I know for myself, really helps me to reframe my thinking and reframe how I'm feeling about something.
Okay, so my question for you then is, there has to be a step before this, because we just talked about earlier how sometimes you don't even notice you're already in total overwhelm.
Mm.
So how do you get to this phase that you just talked about? What is the stepping stone?
Well, I think that it really starts with becoming aware of how you're feeling. And personally for me, that really started with my meditation practice. Taking the time, even if it's 3 minutes, like even if it's a little space between arriving to work, being in your car for 3 minutes before you go inside, just taking a little space to be quiet. You don't have to do anything special. Just be quiet and just notice how your body's feeling. Am I feeling like, how's my stomach feeling? Is it feeling kind of in knots? Is it feeling, discomfort? How's my heart feeling? How's my mind? Are my fists clenched? Is my face tight? Is my jaw tight? And as we can notice how our body's feeling, it helps us to recognize the thoughts that we're having.
Okay, so like doing a simple body scan, like
yes.
a minute body scan. And if we're teachers, we can attach that to like the recess bell.
Yes, absolutely. So how would you do that, Jo?
30.
How would you do a body scan attached to the recess bell?
So as soon as the bell rings and the kids are out, I just take a minute to myself before I go do my photocopies or whatever there is to do.
And how does the body scan work?
I would just check from feet up or head down, whatever works for you, and just check, how do I feel in my feet? How do I feel in my legs? How do I feel in my hips? In my stomach? In my back? In my chest? Or my heart?
Mm-hmm.
My shoulders, my arms, my hands and fingers, and then neck. And one place I find I often hold tension is in my jaw. So I would check my jaw.
Me too. My jaw.
Just
oh my gosh.
Yeah. Just like a quick 1 minute check.
Yeah. And then what do you do if you feel a lot of tension in one area?
So what I would do is just try to relax that part of my body, take a deep breath to help myself relax, and then just check in. What are my thoughts right now?
Yeah. And then the thoughts, maybe you notice, oh, right now I'm thinking about, I don't have enough time. And that's my perception. Oh, I have to get all this stuff done during recess and there's not enough time. So then we can ask ourselves, how can I perceive this differently? Is saying I don't have enough time working for me? Probably not. What if I try out a new perspective? What if I just think of future me or past me or a different way of looking at whatever's making me feel overwhelmed in this moment? So the 3 questions that I like to ask myself when we're talking about perception is, number 1, how would future me feel about this? Number 2, how would past me feel about this? So sometimes we get stuck in like the grind, right? The things that,
yes,
it's like, ugh, I don't feel like doing this. I really don't want to do this. Sometimes it helps to go back to your why. Like, why did I become a teacher? When I was first starting to teach and I was doing these activities, I was doing this thing, did I feel about it or was I excited about it? And can I try to put myself back in those shoes of that excited new teacher that couldn't wait to change the world? Like that zest for life that you had in your first year of teaching or when you were doing your practicum and you just couldn't wait to share fun activities with your students. Can you just bring yourself back there and go back to that joy? go back to the fun, go back to the excitement of past you. And then question number 3 is, how would someone that I admire think or feel about this?
Ooh, I like that one.
Yeah. So it's like, how would Josiane feel about this situation?
Oh.
Which I do sometimes because, we have different perspectives on some things, and, you give me really good advice. So sometimes if I'm feeling bad about something, I'll often think like, would Josiane feel this way? Or like, how would she look at this? And that really helps me to get myself out of that. Or, how would like Eckhart Tolle think about this? Or how would, anyone that you admire, how would Keith McPherson think about this? And it can just get you out of that narrow mindset, that narrow perception that you are currently in.
I love that. I especially love the last question. I think that one would work.
Yeah.
Will work very well for me.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay. So now we've shared like how to do this for yourself, and we have 2 other parts to this. So we can access this getting out of overwhelm from 3 different angles. We've shared one angle. It's looking at your perception and switching up your perception. We're going to be teaching the other 2 angles on our free live webinar. So again, you can register for this webinar to, get into the other 2 ways to approach this by going to www.educalm.com/free workshop. Again, Educalm is spelled EDUCALME. Now, how can we share this with the kids in our lives? How can we help them to see things from a new perspective?
There's a lot of ways we can do it, but one way that I have found to be very useful for me as a teacher is showing them something visual. So what I like to do is show them that image that everybody knows of, is it a duck or a rabbit?
Yes. If you want to find it, just Google duck rabbit illusion. You'll be able to find a picture of that.
Yeah. And then I just, while I'm chatting with the child, and usually, it's about something that they're seeing differently, often from someone else in the classroom, I'll show them this image and I'll say, what do you see? And then they tell me either the duck or the rabbit. And then I can use that to explain that the other student may see the other version of the image, and that we can have different perceptions on a topic, and that's okay. So that's kind of how I get going on that.
I love that so much.
Yeah. I find kids, it always helps to have something visual. And I would even say, have that up in your classroom as a poster, or just something like somewhere close so you can refer to it quickly if ever you're in a pickle or something,
Yeah. It's such a good, especially with younger kids, because they're literally just developing the parts of their brain that allow them to see situations from another's perspective. So it's actually a part of our brain that develops. So it's not always there. But we can help kids to develop that brain network that helps them to see from a new perspective.
And I think it's so important because I think a lot of kids don't realize that we have different perceptions as humans. Like, they think that their perception is the only perception, is the complete truth.
And a lot of adults feel that way too.
But it's a great way to teach them.
Yeah.
That we see things differently as humans. It's part of the human experience.
I love that. That's such a good way for them to like visually and kind of in a hard hitting way, like, oh, wow, there are different ways to look at this. And then you can talk them through kind of the questions that you would ask yourself, like, how would you feel about this in the future? How would you feel about this in the past? Or how would someone else, how do you think that your friend might be looking at this situation that you're, in a fight with right now? Or how do you think that another person would be looking at this?
What a great way to get through an emotional, difficult moment with a child in a more calm way.
Yes.
And I also think we talked about the body scan earlier. And I think that as a teacher, we can do body scan with our students every morning. And we have some in our EduCalm classroom subscription as well, where you kind of get them used to checking out how they feel.
Yeah, exactly.
So that they develop that awareness.
Yeah, it's a skill to be learned. It's a skill that a lot of us as adults didn't learn as kids. So if we can teach it to kids, like, man, the next generation is going to be so far ahead of us.
Yeah, kidding.
To learn it as a kid instead of having to wait till they're an adult to try to retrain their brain. Like their brain is developing right now. Why not teach them these skills as their brain develops? And It's just easier. It's like teaching languages to kids, right? They pick up on new languages so quick, so much quicker than adults, just because their brain is so plastic and malleable at that time.
Yes. Okay, total side note, but at my school last year, the kindergarten kids would show up not knowing a word of French. And I kid you not, within 4 weeks, they were fully fluent in French. Within 4 weeks.
So amazing.
So that's how amazing the child brain is, the developing brain.
Yeah. And we see that with kids that are learning mindfulness, doing EduCalm classroom in kindergarten, grade 1, like they catch on so fast, and it's becomes a skill that's just natural. Like when all of a sudden they breathe deeply when they're feeling overwhelmed, like they've learned it, they catch on so quick. So love it. That's what I love about teaching, is you get to teach the next generation the things that you wish that you knew, right?
And you get to see it unfold in front of you. You get to just see it happen. It's just amazing.
It's so rewarding. Teaching is an awesome job, guys. Like, there's another perspective. When we're feeling overwhelmed, just remember how awesome and what a privilege teaching is.
Seriously.
So great. All right. So if you want to register for our online workshop and learn the other two strategies, or the other two sides of this strategy, we see it kind of as a triangle. We're trying to think of a cool name to give it. It hasn't hit us yet.
It'll come.
Someday we'll wake up and we'll have or maybe you guys will think of a good name for this strategy, but
if you do, let us know.
Exactly. But yeah, so if you want to register, again, the link is www.educalm.com/free workshop. It's going to be so fun because we'll get to meet you guys live. You'll be able to ask us questions at the end. It's going to be on Zoom, which is like a online meeting platform. So we'll actually get to see your faces if you want. And so looking forward to connecting with you guys in that way. Now, here's your exit ticket for the day. Take a screenshot of you listening to this episode, and we would love it if you share it on your Instagram stories. Tag us at EduCalm, EduCalme, and tell us what you learned from this week's episode. It's so fun when you guys do this, because then we get a direct message that you tagged us, and then we can connect with you and, see who our listeners are, connect with you guys on a deeper level. It's a great way to meet you guys. So now this week at EduCalm, what are we up to? We will be working on this free online workshop, of course, learning all the tech to the course is pretty much ready to go, or the workshop's pretty much ready to go. We're still playing with all the tech and all the moving parts. So we'll have all that figured out this week, hopefully. And, we are also working on something super exciting that we will be sharing more details about soon, but we are going to be launching an EduCalm Teacher Ambassador program. So we will share more details with you guys soon about that. And Joe, anything else to add?
Just continuing to work on content creation. Now that it's summer for teachers, we get to just dive deep into our kind of getting ready for next year.
Exactly. So Joe's going to be behind the scenes creating all of her awesome stuff for Educalm Classroom. So you guys will have tons of new content come September. All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing your time with us. If you liked this episode, share it with someone that you think would benefit. We gave, something that's so close to our hearts that has made our life so much better by using this strategy. So hopefully you'll share it with someone that you think will benefit from it too. Have a fantastic week. And if you are just starting summer break, teachers, have a wonderful summer break.
Woo!
Hey there, Balanced Educator. We appreciate you and the work that you're doing in the world. We are here to support you, so we've created a free resource library for you to use anytime you want. Resources for mindfulness for you and your kiddos at home or in the classroom. You can get these free resources by going to www.educalm.com/The Balanced Educator. Again, that's www.educalm, that's spelled educalme.com/The Balanced Educator. Thank you for being a part of our Educalm community.